Hi there, thanks for joining. We're gonna paint this photograph. The steam will be a challenge, of course. In fact, it isn't that difficult. The foreground, the details are very sharp, you can see them very clearly, and there's a big contrast between dark and light. And then when you look at the steam, you see that it covers some of the background, of course, but some parts shine through. But overall, you see that there are subtle variations between tonal values and colors. I'll put a list of the used materials in the description of the video. Maybe I also need a little bit of magenta because I see a lot of purple kind of colors. And of course, because we like the name quinacridone magenta. It's a beautiful name. Let's take a palette knife and pre-mix some colors. So the dark parts here, they're dark but not black, if you compare black with this. But I will use black as a base color for these colors, but I'll adjust it, I'll make it lighter and I'll add color, of course, because it isn't pure black what you see here. It is lighter and it has a sort of purple tone to it. Let's first add some ultramarine. Now it's a dark blue, and when I add a little bit magenta, it will get a little bit more towards purple. Okay, you see all kinds of variations, of course, and then it gets even more towards purple, I think. So I add a little bit more magenta and a little bit more white. And now I'm gonna make some base colors for the lighter parts in the pans. And for instance, this kind of, what color is that? A little bit yellow orangey. No, let's take a look. I'll add a little bit more white. Yeah, okay, still it lacks a little bit of red, and of course it is too dark, and of course it is too vivid. I better make more of this color because it is also a color that occurs in the background at some spots, and not only in the pan, and also here you have all kind of variations, and this orangey color might be useful for that as a base. So I'll add some titanium white. Okay, this is good enough, and we can also use it here, but in the background we need a lot of other variations, and I think that we might get there if we add a little bit more of burnt umber. So I've added burnt umber to my palette now as well. Well, it gets a little bit too brown. Maybe a little bit more red in it. Here I'm just testing if I can, yeah, like this I can get that. So now I can make a bigger pile of that color. That's for the lighter parts. Then of course we have some darker parts, and I'll add some more burnt umber to it. When I look here, it is all right. This guy's shirt, well, I just grab some white. I think that if I get a little bit of this mixture, what I've got here, I think I'm getting in the right direction. It looks like white, of course. We know it's a white shirt. It is not as white as this, so the white of the paper. So although we think it is white, it isn't white in reality. Yeah, it is white in reality, but not as it is presented to us, due to the lighting conditions and all that kind of stuff. And I'll make it a little bit lighter for some other parts, like here, for instance. So I'll add a little bit more titanium white. Slight variations on the palette makes our life easier later on. There you go. Whoops, there we go. So that's good enough for this guy's shirt, and then maybe a few colors for his head. Let's take red as a base color. We just add some black to dull it down. That's the first step I do in this case. And you see it's way too red, of course. Now let's add some white. Let's see what happens then. Yeah, okay. And then I add more white for the lightest part. But now it lacks a little bit of yellow. So I'll add a slight touch of yellow. Yep. And then a darker color for here. I just add some black, but still it contains a lot of red. The hair of the guy is also a different color slightly than this, so I take a little bit of black and I'll add a slight bit of red to it. It's lacking a little bit of blue still. Okay, one thing I forgot is this lighter part here, to premix colors for that part, but I just take some titanium white and I take a little bit of this mixture. It's got a bit of that bluish tone to it. Oh, it's not blue enough, so I'll add some more ultramarine like this. Well, it doesn't have to be the exact color, of course, as well, so I'll just take this one, it's good enough. And then we see, I take a little bit of this purple part, because here it gets a little bit darker. So I'll just take some burnt umber as well and more ultramarine to make my mixture a little bit darker. So like this, you see, oh, maybe still a little bit more ultramarine, more to the bluish side, like this. And now I go to this part, I make it slightly lighter and I'll put it in between here, so like this. And now I just take some of this color. I didn't clean my brush or something, so I just take a little bit of this color here and I just wipe it together like this a little bit. So we don't have to be so precise. It is background stuff, and background stuff is background stuff. Maybe it's easy to do the guy's hair now, so I'll take some of that dark color. So when I start painting, often people tend to think that I have everything planned out and I know what I'm doing. And of course I know a little bit what I'm doing, but my plan changes when I start painting. I just start and I see, and every time I look at what would be handy to do at this moment. So it's not that when I begin I already know how I'm gonna do everything. Oh yeah, and why did I do that? Because you see these dark colors here in the background. For instance, here you see a darker line like this. And that's almost the same color as his hair. So I thought, might be interesting to do it like this. So you see, same color. Also, when we paint, it's a little bit of our duty, I think, it's my opinion, but to simplify things a little bit. So you make choices, you simplify some parts. For instance, this color, I can say, okay, it's all kinds of different colors, but I just use the same purplish color I used for his hair. I put it over here, like this. No problem. And then I see a dark color here. I also sketched that a little bit, so like that. I made the sketch a little bit different because I found it annoying that the rim of the pen here gets cut off by the edge at such a strange point. So I thought I cut it off here. So that's a compositional choice I made. But okay, so this dark part isn't in reality here because it's further to the right, but I don't mind, I like it this way. So and here you see that a little bit shine through some darker part like this. So this line can be extended like this, you see. So and here I also put a little bit of this darker stuff like this. Good. Well, let's take that very dark color, that purplish color. Maybe I can use that for some of the darker parts as well. So here, for instance, is a dark shadow and his lips there in between, but I'm not gonna make a perfect portrait or something. Just indicate the most important features. And now we go over to the colors. We have this color for his for most of this part here. It gets lighter, so I leave it like that. You see, let's just indicate a little bit his face. But it's not a portrait painting, it's just a prop. We need him for the atmosphere in the painting, and that's it. So here you have a cast shadow in his neck like this, shadow part, and like this, of course, the dark part here I already did, I have to restore. So you see, so working with only these two colors makes our life easier. You see, and here we can now, that upper eyelid slightly lighter, so we do it like this. See? And now I jump over to the lighter color we made, this one, and I put it on the rest of his face like this. And I don't start blending colors. I want to keep this color clean on my brush, so I don't mix them together. Now I can make a darker variations out of these two colors. Not as dark as there, but still it's slightly darker. Now maybe I made it a little bit too dark. I do it like this. And now with a color, when I mix these two colors, I get a sort of in-between value, and I can put that in between the values that we just did. So like this, like this. You see, up. Here again, here it gets a little bit darker, of course. So like this. So, but don't spend too much time at painting this guy. As much as we may like this guy, it's just a background prop. I'm sorry, sir, but that's the way it is. If you had stood over here, it would have been a different story, of course. But now you're only a prop. Let's take these colors for his shirt. And I'm just gonna do it like this. Oh yeah, and it's another thing. Of course, this all looks very, very weird, these colors. You see, it is... and that is because we have no context of other colors. The surrounding colors are missing. Colors from the scenery, the surrounding, everything. As long as we are only doing parts of our painting, like this now for instance, yes, then everything will look very weird. It's no problem, don't mind, and just keep on painting. And you'll see that hopefully in the end you'll see that it will look more logical. Because you need all the surrounding colors. As long as you don't have those surrounding colors, it looks weird. We just have to live with that. That's part of the game of painting. Like this. Oops. Okay. And again, keep it simple. Just these three colors. I'm gonna add a little bit of darker mixture for the folds. So here's a slightly darker part, here maybe, so I just... Let's go on filling in some of the background. So over here we have this brownish color, like here, and here maybe, and here. So that goes slightly like this, and here again. Yep. But now I get over to the lighter color. See, and again, I see it around here. I just look at the color planes, so like this, I think. Yeah, and here over his shoulder it gets a little bit darker, so I just return to the darker color. Now like this, you see, so up, there you go. Now you can mix them together a little bit because they're still wet. And then there it gets lighter. So this variation can be put on here. Around the windows as well. So like this. There it gets even more lighter because here is a... Oh, that's an accident. Here was a light, of course. No problem, but I don't want to forget it for a later stage, so maybe I better wipe it out a little bit. So I just add some white in this case, and in a later stage I will add some color to that white, but I almost forgot. Now I'll put that color around it again. So, and over here you see there is some of that damp, and I just wipe it in a little bit wet and wet, you see, and with a little bit more white, of course. So, and you see now these colors get binded, so they get closer to each other. And you can just drag it over here, a little bit of that orange color and a little bit of that white. See, here is a sort of a pillar, so I just first add this color here to make it sort of wet. And now I'll grab some of this purplish color like this, and I'll make it slightly lighter with that white mixture. And I'm gonna add it so, like this, that you see it at some parts, and at some parts you don't. So, like this maybe. And now here we get also a lighter part, but I'll add some of that purplish mixture through it. So like this. And these windows surrounding the window here as well, I'll add it like this. And a little bit here already. So, and here it gets a little bit more of that yellow orangey color. So I'll just add that and I'll mix it a little bit. Here I am not entirely satisfied, so I'll add a little bit more of that lighter color through here, so like this. So, and here again there are some darker parts. I'll just add this darker color here. Some parts, so like this. There you see it a little bit more shining through. And also again here. Oh, I already did that, but it was here I had to do it. So there you see more dark because there's less of this steam. See? Now I'll just add some of this mixture to my white mixture here, of this guy's shirt. And let's go again like this. Oh, maybe a little bit more of the pinkish color. And just slightly wipe it through. And we can as well do that here. So I'll wipe it through like this. I just cover this whole part with a kind of a base color. Oh, some of this pinkish, like this. So it is wet, and when it's wet I can paint wet and wet, and I can adjust things. So now I'll get some of this purplish color again, and I make it a little bit lighter with this mixture, and I'll add it a little bit like this. At some parts you see, while it's still wet, and at some parts it gets slightly darker, so it's maybe a little bit too much. So I'll wipe it through like this, and here it obviously gets darker. So, because again that's a part where the steam isn't in front of the background color, so more like this. And here we get to the other steamy part. So I'll just rub it in like this. Now the same goes for this part. Here you see things happening. So at some parts it gets a little bit darker, like this. And at some parts it isn't. Then we have this in-between part there, that's a little bit of the color like this. So same procedure. At first I just add that color, so like this. And now I'm gonna, and on the top of it here is slightly lighter, that's a sort of reflection out of the window. But again, now we're gonna make it more steamy, so I just get that steam color again. And I wipe it through at some spots, like this. Add some white already for the windows, because, and I don't want to use pure white in the end, but at this stage I just want to cover my canvas with a light color so that I can adjust the color later on. But so this is purely to cover the gray of my canvas. Now I go to this part where it's more yellowy. So you see around here, around that lamp, it's a little bit more yellow for a small part, and then it gets more of a brownish color. But again, it's almost the same tonal value, so it isn't much darker than the yellow part I had. But here, when we go down, like here, it gets a little bit more pink. So I'll add a little bit more pink. So again, just wipe it in like this. See, whoop. Here again, the steam is coming up. Here it gets more brown. You see more of the backgrounds shining through like this. Okay, so here we have all kinds of colors. Well, here we see some purple parts again, the dark purple. It isn't covered with steam there in the top, so more like this. And then here is steam again. So I'll add that mixture that I had here, make it lighter with steam mixture like this, and I just wipe it through like this. And then I take some more of this color, the previous color that we used here for the steam, and wipe that through it as well a little bit, so like this, some parts. And here again, steam, just add a little bit of the color, so like this. Good, let's go on, because here's another hot steaming pan. So here we get more color, because there's less steam. And here we will make the transition to the steam again, because I have a very hard transition now. I only wiped off my brush a little bit, and I go to the lighter mixtures that are already here on my palette. I just use what I have all the time. It lacks a little bit of yellow, I see now, so more like this. Whoop. You see, you can very easily paint wet and wet still. Maybe I do this, take it a little bit up like here. Yeah, I like that, because you also see some sparkles. So maybe a little bit of pinkish color, pink. So you see like these things. And some are more yellow. and I've made them a little bit too bright maybe, but here again in the mist you see them less clearly, so you just put in more of the color of the background that you already see. So the windows again, here we have some, and here again we have a light that I've forgotten to put in, like this, I think. But again, the windows, I just do them white, and I'll adjust the color later, just to have a ground for the color I want to use. Oh yeah, this is also nice, I almost forgot, but these lighter parts here, well, they look a little bit pink, maybe a little bit of this kind of color. That's maybe a little bit too bright, so I'll dull it down a little bit. I'm not gonna do every detail, but just to indicate that there are there's some stuff there, and there I see something that is a little bit more red, so it's slightly more red. Oh yeah, of course these darker colors here as well are nice to do, because this is the part where the steam doesn't distort our picture. So here we have darker values, and and more contrast. So that's nice, and you can even exaggerate it a little bit, you see? So just vivid colors like this. Now we come to the steamy part over here. So in general it looks a little bit like this rosy color I have here, so well, let's just try. I'll put in some, just to put in some paint to start with, and we can always adjust, but the main thing is that it is a little bit wet. That's important, you see? So just add some paint, make it wet, because whenever there's paint on the canvas that is wet, we can manipulate it. When we have nothing on the canvas, we cannot manipulate anything, so it's always scary just to jump in and try this. This for me as well, I don't know how it's gonna end as well, I'm just trying. Now I'm adding some more ultramarine to adjust the color here slightly. I want to make it a little bit more grayish, purplish. So like this, I think. So yeah, okay, so for here you see, and here like this. Well, and again, this part isn't on my painting, so I make this a little bit more towards here. Yeah, okay, so and we go on quickly to use the background color. And it isn't that vivid, so I've taken the background color, I make it a little bit lighter for here, you see. And again, first I'm gonna do it like this. I want to mix these two through each other as well, of course, but that color has dried up. That was this one. So now I'll add it to my palette, make an in-between color, and then do like this. I just mix it through each other. And here as well, this is a little bit lighter. Okay, so like this. And now I'm going to bring it in the cloud slightly, you see, like this. Here it is way more lighter than what I'm doing now, so this isn't good. So add more white and a little bit more yellow. So more like this. Yep. So this looks ugly, of course, that's no problem, because we are not there yet. We can as well adjust this again. Just paint wet in wet and try to follow the pattern of the smoke. Okay, and now we're adjusting this here like this and like this. Here we get a little bit of this color up, a little bit of the background color through, and here some more, of course. Here it is more brown again like this. I think there's again is a window. Yes, there is. Okay, so I'll add more of this brown color like this. We have more of a grayish color, so at the side you see here more gray purplish, so I'll add that a little bit here like this, and now like this, for instance. And then we have again purplish friend, so this color again, and that's again what we had here. You see that's here as well, so just add it like this, and at some parts we let it shine through a little bit. And this is too heavy what I'm doing here. Then I grab some of this mixture again and put it through like this to make it softer. It's just a matter of putting values next to each other that are close to each other. And you can adjust. Here is a lighter part because of that window, of course, so I'll just add some more white here maybe in this part, and I just wipe it like this a little bit. See? And again, here is another lamp shining through. Well, that lamp again, that needs more yellow in the end, but we'll do that later on. And now I'll just add some more of this lighter mixture with more yellow. So like this. Yes, let's do it like this. We just wipe it through. Now this becomes the lightest part in this cloudy thing. But you see again, it's so nice that you have a lot of colors on your palette that you can choose from, because I can just jump all over the place and adjust my colors all the time. Yeah, now I can make this a little bit lighter as well here, so around the light. At some parts I just add some extra special effects. I just make a light mixture of this color and I do it like this. You see, a little bit here, a little bit there. What kind of color do we have? Well, it's good enough for here. Whoop. It's all background stuff, we don't care. So again, this is wet, so we can use that. And here it's a little bit lighter, like this. Oops. So it's always the case when you want to make contrasting things, then you increase the tonal values. You make a big difference in tonal values, or in color, or in both. Well, here's a nice part where that is a little bit, well, let's do it. So you see a little bit of smoke doing like this. That's a little bit too heavy what I'm doing there, but I'll just add some more color, more of the background color again. You see? So you cannot make mistakes. You can easily adjust it all the time because you have all the colors on your palette. Now let's start with painting the foreground, because hopefully when we do that, the rest will look more logical. So a dark blue purple color for the, I'll have to put my canvas over here. Well, oh, here's another pen. I'll just make a dark color here, so like this. Oh yeah, one problem we have, and you'll see, is that this dark color is made, of course, I have used black, but I've used ultramarine as well. And ultramarine is a very transparent pigment, so it could well be that I need to cover it 2 times. You see, so first time it doesn't cover that well. Dark edge, and then this one. Now you see immediately that we use very dark colors in the foreground, so a big contrast with the softer colors all in the background. So right now already you start seeing the effect of the soft background with these hard foreground colors. That creates depth immediately. You see the difference? That's always the case if you want to make things more soft. So for instance with this steam, or with mist, or with great depth with mountains in the distance, you always have to be careful that you don't make the contrasts too big, so small contrasts in color and in tonal values. So something like this, and now I'll get that lighter purple color I had. I'm not gonna make a totally complete finished look, I think, but just enough to show the possibilities. And now I can use the other colors that we already have. This, for instance, is good. I can use it over here, I think, so like this and this. And then it gets more red around the edge. Oh, let's take some of this color. So you see, again, I have all kinds of color on my palette, and they're always useful. So here in the foreground as well, this is not the, it's a little bit vague. So like this maybe. Over here we get more of a purplish gray, so I'll add some white to the mixture and put it here. This nice light variation, you see? And that makes the whole thing contrasting. Again, I'm not gonna paint everything exactly as it is. I just want to make the color contrast work. So, and here we see things like this. And you see this is dry now, so I can add a second layer. And now it will become more opaque. And darker therefore, and more contrasting therefore than what we had. And I think you also see that you always need to continue painting, because in the early stages it looks ugly and strange, and you can only see if it's gonna work when you continue. And that's this stage that I'm now at. Now I can see, oh, it works or it doesn't. And all of this work I'm only doing because I want to make it contrasting with the background. So now we have a contrasting foreground to the soft background. Well, I think I leave it this way. The idea is clear, I think. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.